1.8 seconds. Charles Barkley.
Johnson around his man, drives and scores.
Davis scores over Mark Jackson. Stoudemire scores. Rejected. What a defensive effort that time. And Crowder looking for the alley.
Kevin Durant breaking out here. With a long one, won't get it. Long rebound. Finds Booker. This is
Yeah, let's not do that twice. What is up, Planeteers? It is your host, Jake, a.k.a. Fallon Founder, joined by the Thriller from Manila, Kevin. Salute. Say hi to the folks, Kev.
Hey, Planeteers, what's going on? Can't wait to get the show started. We have a lot of stuff to unpack. We have a lot of Suns news lately, right? Suns-related news. So, yeah, let's get to it.
Awesome. And, of course, you all know the Thunder from Down Under. Did I mess that up originally? Okay. We had the Thriller from Manila, the Thunder from Down Under. Hamo, show those people the beautiful face that you got.
I don't know about beautiful, man, but it's here. Deal with it. What's going on, guys? Very excited. As always, it's only a couple of words that I use, and excited and awesome of them. And that's everything that we got planned for today. So very much looking forward to it.
Well, we appreciate all the Planeteers joining us here in the chat on Twitter, on Facebook, on YouTube, of course. And if you're on Twitter, if you're on Facebook, please drop into YouTube, drop us a like, drop us a subscribe, because those are the numbers that, impact all the other algorithms is what I'm told. So I'm supposed to say that. And then, you can find us on Patreon someday, and you can also contribute there, and we'll set all that up in the future. I'm sure, like every other podcast plug you've ever heard. But for now, just a like and a subscribe is all we ask for you. And if you haven't noticed yet, our main man, Josh, is on baby watch. So it feels like he took the training wheels off, because I'm back in the driver's seat on all the mechanics in the background here. So I'll do my best, but it might be, you'll notice Planeteers, a little bit of a delay as I try and look everything up at the same time as getting things going, which is, let's talk, as Kevin pointed out, some Suns-related news, but kind of from a distance. This is a former Sun, and in that, we're talking about the Monty Williams. Coach Williams has recently been fired by the Detroit Pistons after signing, at the time, a record contract deal, which has only been surpassed so far by Popovich and Eric Spoelstra. And what was amazing about this deal, as many of you guys know in Suns land, is Monty had basically, after he was let go by the Suns, was not interested in taking on another position right away. He was going to get paid out by the Suns, and he wanted to take a break. He was a little burned out and a little frustrated with, I think, how things had wound up for him. So Detroit upped their offer again to make it a record deal to where he couldn't say no. And I don't know, do you guys have Zillow out there in the Philippines or Australia? Is that any website that you guys would use out there? I'm guessing
Never
no.
heard of it.
By the look on your faces, you're not familiar. So Zillow here, the reason why I bring it up, this is a fun pastime for some people here in the States, because Zillow, you can look at housing prices anywhere, I guess, in the U.S. And what was interesting is as soon as Monty Williams got that deal, you got to remember, Detroit is not what it once was in the United States. The city has really declined from its former height. Which means a lot of Detroit, what we would call like the McMansions and the giant houses from the old like automobile days. The mansions are still there. A lot of them are still for sale at like rock bottom prices from what they should be, right? So I decided to Google what Monty Williams, basically he could have had like an 80 bedroom 40 bathroom mansion in the greater Detroit area with this record setting deal. And after one horrible season, let's be honest, it was a horrible season in Detroit, they let him go, which means for the next, for the rest of his contract, he's going to get paid out the rest of his $65 million. So the first question is this, guys, and you know where it is. Should we feel bad for Monty? And Hamo, let's start with you. Are we feeling bad for Coach Monty right now?
No. Why? He's set for life. What did the Pistons expect, man? You hired a losing coach.
Oh, shots fired. All right.
They did, man. He come off one of the worst seasons we've ever had. You know?
Wait, he came. We went to the second round in the playoffs with Monty. It was his last season with us. And that was one of our worst seasons?
We didn't go all the way.
Then we've had only our worst season has been every season in franchise history, if that's how we're going to grade it. But Kevin, let's be honest. I mean, obviously, I think a lot of people initially were like, oh my gosh, okay, Monty's going to go, to the beach and hang out. Actually, Eddie Johnson already pointed out that he already connected with Monty, and he is out fishing. Enjoying some time off, because the guy is basically like a lottery winner for the next 4 or 5 years. Yeah, he's going to be getting paid out in installments of that rest of that $65 million contract, unless somebody would try and hire him for more than that and bring him back in. So I don't think that's going to happen. I think he's going to sit back and enjoy the next 4 years off and make a lot of money. But it's never a good feeling to be fired from your job, even if they have to give you a record-setting severance, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's I think it's like mixed feelings for him. Obviously, like you pointed out, nobody wants to get that pink slip. But just to sit around for $65 million, oh my goodness, that's just a
How would you feel, Kevin? You'd be pretty frustrated, wouldn't you? Being fired like that, and I guess you'd probably take the checks, right?
I'd take the checks, definitely.
Well, let me ask you guys this. This is always the fun question, right, when anyone's talking about a lottery or something like this. But, this game could go on forever. Obviously, we have a limited time on this show. But let me ask you guys this. You get, you find out you're fired from work. So, yeah. So you don't get to work anymore. And you've got $65 million coming to you over the next, is it 4 years, 5 years? Yeah. Because he already coached one of them. So what is one of the first big things you do to treat yourself?
Jeez.
Or let me ask you this. So while you guys are brainstorming what you're going to immediately do, would you go fishing? Or is that not the most Monty thing you could imagine?
No, I'm not a fisherman, dude.
Me too.
I could do fishing, but it would be like after 100 other things that I've done, and it would be on like one of those mega yachts where I'm like trying to bring in like a giant tuna. It wouldn't be like, oh, I went out to the Great Lakes and just fishing for perch.
Caught a bass.
Caught a largemouth bass, something like that.
You know what?
Jump on a plane.
The first thing that I'm gonna do. First thing I'm gonna do is like buy you guys tickets so that you guys can come in here.
Oh, flight to the Philippines, huh?
Yeah, I think that's one thing, and then I'm gonna buy a car, and then a brand new house, and all that stuff. I always daydream about this, but I do never bet in the lottery. So
we fantasy spend the money so much in our head, but I'm the same. I never buy a ticket.
I'll occasionally buy the ticket, full well knowing that it's burnt money. But the reason why I buy the ticket is to give myself the allowance to sit there and daydream what I would spend it on. Because otherwise, I'm like, why do I even wonder? Because I'm not even trying. But I'll go get like one ticket, one chance to be like, okay, I'm totally going to win, and when I win, it's going to be this. But so, Kevin, what kind of car are you going to get right away?
Maybe like, I'd have to buy first a family car, and Toyotas have plenty of.
Okay, you're not that far removed from Monty's fishing trip. Okay, well, first off, we're going to get a very nice minivan for me and the family, and okay,
not really, just an SUV or something, and then the sports car will follow.
You're not going to get like a Hummer or something like Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Oh no, that's how
12 miles to the gallon.
Get like 8 miles a gallon.
My goodness, no. With the gas prices over here, no.
But you're getting paid $65 million. Oh my God, I love the frugality. All right, Hamo, what's one of the first things you're doing?
Yeah, I'm jumping on a plane, picking up Kev, and we're heading out to Iowa. We're gonna have some fun.
I have to tell you guys, I'll buy you a ticket, but you guys are not the first thing on my list. I gotta. I'm sorry,
I
guys.
love the honesty.
I
love
like
the
you all
honesty.
so much, but yeah, if you're like first thing, it's not like I'm putting you guys all on a plane and sending you here. No, I'd probably like 10th thing I would do totally. But yeah, first thing would probably be different.
Hey,
Yeah.
at least we know where we stand.
No, absolutely. Hey, you're
Yeah.
in the top 100.
It's you and me, Kev.
I'm just glad that we're not going to Hamo in Australia, because we already know that there's about 20 other people, including JC, including Matt, including Pat Burke. We've got pretty much the entire globe showing up over there in Australia at some point. We're all going to
need
be
that
bunk beds over there.
65 mil. I'm going to need that 65 mil to have all the space.
That's right.
Yeah, and to that point, I'm gonna build a house that has room for all of us. Yeah.
There you- Now we sound like a bunch of like 8-year-olds. Guys, when I become a billionaire, I'm going to build a house. You guys can all live in it with me. It'll be
We can
amazing.
drive around in tank.
And
Oh,
no
man.
girls allowed, man, except like wives. All right. Well,
All right, we're on track.
yeah, Hamo mentioned it already. Monty Williams had his worst season ever, which matched every other season he had, because we didn't go all the way. But the question becomes, where does Monty Williams fall now that he's a little bit removed, or he's a season removed from his time with the Suns? Is he one of the best coaches in Suns history? And so if you guys were going to do a Mount Rushmore, a four-headed, monument for the 4 favorite coaches of yours in Phoenix Suns history, who's it going to be? And let's kick it off with Kevin.
Yeah, so for Monty Williams, overall record with the Suns is like 194, 115. So it's a pretty solid record for over 4 seasons that we had with us, or that he had with us. For me, Monty's really a good coach, and I think when he signed with the Pistons, although he really didn't want that job, was I hope for the best for him. I hope that he could turn things around in Detroit, really, with that young Pistons team. The same way that he was able to spearhead the turnaround here with the Suns and the culture and everything. But to me, sorry.
No, that's okay. We all remember when we turned 14.
Oh, come on. But to me, obviously, he did not have that Devin Booker level potential player in Detroit that could really be the guy. I mean, Cade Cunningham is an up and coming, but he's nowhere near Devin Booker's potential at that age. When he came here, Devin Booker was already one of the premier guards out there, so he really had help, and plus the addition of Chris Paul. So he's really a good coach if you put the right pieces with him, just like any other coaches.
Okay, Hamo, what about you? Top 4 coaches?
Look, yeah, Monty's definitely up there, man. What Hunstar says in the chat there, very much responsible for giving us a lot of hope and a lot of crap, we might actually be able to win a championship in our lifetime. A lot of that realization came from the time with Monty. And, he's a very personable guy. He's been through a lot of tragedy in his personal life. And unfortunately, that, majority of that happened when he was with the Suns. But definitely will go down as one of the best Suns coaches of all time. If he makes the Mount Rushmore, I think eventually he'd be edged out of that spot anyway. So I don't see the point in putting him on the Mount Rushmore just yet. But definitely for the time that he was with the Suns, he was a very good coach. The culture that he brought, the camaraderie that he instilled in the team, you can't help but love it. When it was working, it was beautiful. When it wasn't, shame.
Okay, well, you guys focus so much on Monty, but who's in your Mount Rushmore?
Yeah. My top four, and I'm not doing this in order or anything like that.
No,
but,
yeah.
yeah.
Otherwise, we're gonna be
So
here all day.
for sure. So what I have is Mike D'Antoni, Monty Williams, Paul Westphal, and my last one would be Coach John McLeod. Those are my top four, or my four who'll be going to my Mount Rushmore of coaches. Now, is Jake there?
Yes, I am. No, go back. You said John
Okay.
McLeod, Mike D'Antoni, Paul Westphal, and who was your fourth? And Monty. Gotcha.
Monty Williams. So I only remember like vividly Monty Williams and as well as Mike D'Antoni, because the other coaches that we had are like interims, like the Jay Trianos, who's that European coach? That
Igor.
Igor. Yep.
Igor Kokoska.
Kokoshkov, yeah. So
Boy, that guy would never have a
so
But if we had Luca, he would have been great.
well, we're not sure about that. I mean, it took Jason Kidd like 3 years before Luca got to the finals. But anyway, so my case with D'Antoni was he's just a favorite of mine because how fun the Suns play at that era, the 7 seconds or less. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's really like the Suns then was the I think the lead in terms of like revolutionizing the game, or in run and gun style, right?
Okay.
That is why I like Golden State before, because of their style. It was like a Sun style, the way they run their plays. So that's for me for Mike D'Antoni, and of course we never got to the finals with him. It's always the Lakers and the San Antonio Spurs who's blocking our way at that time. But this is the reason why I put Monty as well in there, is because he was able to lead us to the finals, even though we eventually bowed out 4-2. And for all the reasons that I've mentioned earlier about Monty during his time with the Suns. And for McLeod, I believe he coached the Suns for 14 years.
Mm-hmm.
So that is a very long time. His record was like 579 to 543 win-loss record, and lost the finals against Boston 76 for games 2 as well. And of course, Paul Westphal lost to the Bulls in the finals, or 93 finals, 191 to 88 win-loss record. So that's a pretty badass record too. And more importantly, he predicted the future against, the Lakers.
Okay. Hamill, where do you differentiate?
There's not too many other coaches that Kev didn't mention there. I mean, obviously D'Antoni with the 7 seconds or less, and I like what he did when he went to Houston as well. I thought he had a pretty solid team going on over there. But I'm more interested to see who's coming in the future. You know what I mean? Like, you've got a lot of former players stepping up to be coaches. Look at what Jason Kidd's doing. Steve Nash had his try. I don't think necessarily had the best team to do it with, but yeah, no, that's pretty much it, man. Kev pretty much nailed them all. But yeah, no, Monty is definitely special. Mike D'Antoni, and yeah, Danny Ainge as well. Paul Westphal. I mean, you can't go past Paul Westphal. He, in my eyes, probably has to be the best Suns coach, but I'm usually wrong.
Well, no, I would definitely agree with Paul Westphal. I would definitely throw Monty in there, but I would say Cotton Fitzsimmons as well. was named Coach of the
Yeah.
Year, and he's second highest winning percentage. We didn't mention Cotton too much, but he did do that, as you point
Such a
out,
cool
Danny
name
Ainge.
too.
Yeah.
You know, if I'm doing my four though, it'd be Cotton, Paul, and Monty, and then I would probably go John McLeod again, just because of the legacy of almost 15 years of coaching the team. You know, I want to throw D'Antoni in there, but and for a lot of the reasons that Kevin said, with the 7 seconds or less style that really revolutionized the league. So on any given day, I could swap him and John McLeod out, just because although John spent a lot of time coaching, he didn't always have that much success, being just over 500. But I think what's interesting with D'Antoni is, and call me biased because we got to speak with Pat Burke on it, but this was something that we were super frustrated with during the 7 seconds or less era, was if you want to run teams out of the gym, that's okay, but why are you running a 7-man rotation to try and do it? If you're asking guys to sprint up and down the court and shoot very fast, and then you shouldn't be playing them 40 minutes a game. You got to find some guys that can come in with fresh legs and do it. And Mike kind of has that. Who's the coach in with the New York Knicks?
Thibodeau.
Thank you. Yeah, his
Daniel
reputation
Quick.
is just like grind them down. Like his guys look like they have fantastic seasons. He also ups their minutes a tremendous amount. He does not like to go to his bench very much. He'd rather have a tired star than a fresh role player coming in. And I feel like that was a lot of D'Antoni's challenge as well. But like I said, it's a toss up. You could quickly throw Mike's face up there on the John McLeod spot. John McLeod is definitely going to be the Teddy Roosevelt of the Mount Rushmore. Like kind of that fourth guy you're not sure if he actually belongs. Are you you're saying Coach Bud's already there?
He's already on the Mount Rushmore.
Oh, okay. Well, he hasn't had one of the worst seasons in Suns history yet.
He's winning so
he has
far.
Not failed to win it all yet. So. We'll see how that goes. But the next topic that we were going to talk about is again kind of more on the periphery of Suns news. And it's because we heard a lot of chatter about maybe trying to acquire both of these players at one point last season, and that's the Alex Caruso for Josh Giddey trade, the Cars for Kids, the Caruso for the guy that likes kids, and in case the people weren't getting that too quickly. But Cars for Kids trade did go through, and interestingly, it was a straight 1-for-1. Thunder, who are loaded with picks, and the Bulls, who do have some, did not exchange anything. Alex Caruso, still one of the top perimeter defenders, made all defensive team again. And Josh Giddey is a young player that is very productive, just had maybe a little off year, and maybe was less productive in the playoffs based on the system. So I turn it to you guys. The Suns were at one point, or at least Suns fans were very interested in trying to acquire one or both of these players at one point. So let's start with who won this trade. And Hamo, who's the winner out of this deal? Thunder or the Bulls?
I think the Bulls end up on top in this deal. It sort of come out of nowhere, didn't it? Like just very quickly, man. And I kept searching every website I could to try and find what picks or what else was part of the deal, because I couldn't believe it was just a straight 1-for-1. I think Giddey's a much he has much more potential than what Caruso does. We've heard the Bulls are in blow it up kind of territory, kind of mode. But shit, man. I don't know. I still think the Bulls won that, dude. What do you think?
Well, that's what's interesting. The national pundits right now, if you're looking at The Athletic, if you're looking at, I think it was ESPN, the grades have topped out to being a bigger win for the Thunder than for the Bulls. Neither one looked like they did poorly, but it's usually an A minus for the Thunder and a B or B plus for the Bulls in return. But Kev, do you agree with the national guys, or are you agreeing with Hamo and you say, hey, you know what? The Aussie knows the Aussie. It's Josh Giddey is the prize here.
I would think I look at it as a win-win actually, but maybe more.
Yeah, but come on.
Um,
You got to who gets just that little extra,
okay,
if this is an
so
NBA 2K trade, are you sitting there going, "Oh, I just barely lost this trade?" Or are you saying this is good?
I
Because
think
interestingly, they're both kind of playing the two guard position.
right.
So
Although
it's essentially a position swap.
I think Alex Caruso is like um, listed as a point guard or like a
Is he now?
combo guard or something.
Well, that makes sense. He doesn't shoot
Based on what
enough
I
to
can
really
see,
be a shooting guard, and Josh Giddey could arguably be more of a point guard.
yeah. So in terms of like statistics, they're not really far off each other. It's just that I think Thunder got the extra edge in terms of the defense of Alex Caruso. If you
Mhm.
put out that lineup of SGA, Caruso, and then you have Jalen Williams on there as well, I think they're gonna
You
be
forget
like,
about the amount of young stars that team's got, eh?
yeah, and they need a vet like Caruso as well. Caruso won a championship, right, with the Lakers. So I think that's the edge. More importantly for the Thunder, championship experience to like guide this very young team who finished what second round this last season, and then just fortify their defensive prowess. I think that's what the Thunder was looking at when they made this deal. Now for the Bulls, they get a really young point guard who can blossom into an all star potentially, although he had his struggles in the playoffs. So I think it's a win trade for Josh Giddey personally for himself because um, let's face it, he's not gonna get that like opportunity in the Thunder because of SGA and the other guards in there that's up and coming. So with more minutes, definitely they can see him as a potential like cornerstone in this or in their franchise.
Mhm. Well, so and I'm sorry, who did you say tops out then? Who gets the win here?
OKC.
OKC. Okay.
I'm with
So
OKC.
yeah, no, I'm going to swing it to Hamo then, and so we'll turn it over to the comments if they want to tie this one up. But I think anytime you're trading a 21-year-old for a 30-year-old, and that 21-year-old is not just a based on a potential type player. I mean, Josh Giddey, in his season before this last one, he was playing over 31 minutes a game, shooting over 48%. He's not a great 3-point shooter, but he's competitive, close to 8 rebounds a game that season, over 6 assists, and you're playing with Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, so I mean you're splitting a lot of those duties. He still ended up scoring over 16 points a game. That was last year when he was 20 years old. This year was a little bit different, and they cut his minutes back 6 minutes a game, and he nudged his 3-point shooting up percentage-wise up a little bit. It's about 34% now, 80% from the line, and still was able to do over 6 rebounds a game and just about 5 assists. So, and he's a solid perimeter defender. Obviously, Alex Caruso is winning. The last 2 years. Last year he was the first team. This year was the second team defense, and so I mean he certainly. Caruso's not on a downward spiral or anything like that. And Caruso did shoot 40% from 3 last year. But I just think that, what the Bulls needed to do is kind of find ways to hit reset without hitting reset. Not just do a total dump off, but who can you build around? And I think Josh Giddey you could build around. I think Caruso can be a piece, but, the Thunder like to play 5 out. Caruso's going to have to continue to work on that 3. Like he shot 40% last year. That's a first for him. He's not known as a great 3-point guy. And so he's going to have to work on that to remain on the floor. And I really thought the reason why the Thunder got bounced in the playoffs was much more interior play because Chet Holmgren is essentially your center and he's a toothpick out there. And so you bring in a perimeter defender to, try and fix it. I'm not sure that's going to be what you need. Maybe they did a pretty good job on the perimeter and defense, but I guess they wanted to double down on this.
And
so
let's face it too, we're glossing over the biggest point here with the Caruso and Giddey trade. Giddey's much better looking. He doesn't look like Elmer Fudd. in terms of marketing, he's a much better face of a team to put on a billboard than Alex Caruso. God damn, that is one ugly brother. Seriously, he looks like a big toe. Poor guy.
Wait, I'm sorry. Who's the ugly one? Of
Caruso,
this
man.
duo?
He looks Caruso.
Oh,
He
okay.
looks like a big toe. Like ugly.
Well, he's not.
ugly.
He's not bagging 17-year-olds. That's for sure. You know, and at least not yet.
He couldn't with a
Uh,
head like that.
It's
Sorry.
it's true. He does kind of have an Elmer Fudd thing to him now that I
He
think
does.
about it.
He with a little head.
All right.
Very quiet.
There you go. We'll go into our third segment here, and let's talk a little bit about free agents. Some of the guys we want to talk about coming up were gettable power forwards this week, we did, of course, point guards last week. We thought might be available for a minimum contract. The 4 position obviously is going to be manned probably by Kevin Durant for as long as he's here. I've toyed around in NBA 2K and thought, wait a minute, what if we bring in a legit 4 and move Kevin to the 3? Even NBA 2K doesn't like that too much, but I guess it's a possibility we could do that. I think we definitely need somebody else to kind of back up Kevin Durant at that 4 position. And I'm going to kind of go a little out of order, and I'm going to start. Actually, let's start with Kevin, and he wants to bring back somebody that we shipped out last year, Chimezie Metu.
Yeah, I mean, when you're talking about realistically speaking, who's
He
gonna
probably would accept a minimum contract again. Yeah.
yeah, that's right. So I'm not when the trade happened, it was for Royce O'Neal, right? We aggregated salaries and then got Royce O'Neal. I didn't really I was in my seat trying to think who are they shipping. So apparently it was one of my favorites, Chimezie Metu. So I actually want him back to the team. I think it was just the chances that he got under Vogel that he really wasn't able to show his prowess. But in his son's stint, he had 5 points, 3 rebounds, just under 51% from the field. Can occasionally shoot the threes at 29%, and that is people better than Bronny James at 26 points, almost 27% for Bronny. And he's a good free throw shooter, obviously offensive-minded guy. Sorry, excuse me. Offensive-minded guy, and top under just 12 minutes a game when he plays. And don't forget, this is a guy who had a career night versus Dallas, of 23 points and 19 rebounds. So he can play, definitely, and he can help the Suns. My only thing with him is that he needs to work on his threes and some lazy passes I've seen from him. That one that stuck in my mind was when he made this back to the behind the back pass, and KD was really upset at him at that time because it was a needless turnover
outside of his wheelhouse of skill sets.
Yeah. He actually doubled his point production in Detroit when he was traded there, scoring 10.5 points in his 29 minutes. I believe he has a team option that's due on the 29th of this month. And if Detroit doesn't pick that up, then he'd be an unrestricted free agent. That's what
So
I have.
you want to bring the Metu back.
Yep.
Okay.
Metu movement.
Well, one of the ones that I was thinking about was Doug McDermott. He's a little undersized at 6'6", but he came into the league as a kind of a knockdown 3-point shooter out of Creighton. I was very high on him when he was getting drafted back in 2014, if I'm not mistaken there. And he has done a very good job from shooting three. He's a 41% 3-point shooter. Of course, his rebounds are not his strong suit. Even at the playing in a 4 position, sometimes he plays at the 3. He's kind of Kevin Durant-ish like that. But he played most recently with the San Antonio Spurs and the Indiana Pacers last year, splitting some time between the two. And again, he's just an efficient three-point shooter, shooting 44% with the Spurs from three-point land. And, I think would be a fantastic kind of player to bring in and knock down more three-point shots as our big three move the ball around the court and get, I mean, kind of how we saw Grayson Allen essentially, right? Go from like, oh, I think this guy will be a good 3-and-D player too. Now he is, God dang, I read the chat. Now I know why you guys are laughing. And then, thanks, Boyd. Anyway,
We're trying to be
Grayson Allen,
professional, Boyd.
he turned into an electric three-point shooter. I think Doug McDermott would continue to do that as well.
Correct me if I'm wrong. It's happened once before, but Dougie McBuckets holds some sort of NCAA record for like shortest amount of time to reach so many 3-pointers, or most 3-pointers ever made in NCAA history or something like. I'm sure he does, man.
Mm-hmm.
Dougie
Yeah, I mean,
McBuckets, he's a
he was never
killer
knocked
player.
as being a bad shooter. It was more his
Nah.
athleticism, and could he be a plus defender? And he's certainly not a plus defender. I don't think he's as bad as they kind of originally feared. But no, he's a 3-point shooting. I wouldn't call him 3-and-D. He's more of a 3-in-there type guy. And so again, if we're talking minimum contracts, he's just coming off a sizable, I think, $10+ million contract. I don't think he's going to. He might get some offers that are more around mid-level exception, but he's also he was, I believe, a senior when he came out. But yeah, and now he's 32 years old. So is he going to be looking to would he consider a minimum contract instead of a mid-level if it's a chance to compete for a title? That's what we'll see. Hamo has an interesting choice as well. Tell us why Dario Saric should come back. And does it start with the big butts thing that we learned about from last week?
Oh my goodness.
We know that,
Possibly.
we know that you like
Possibly.
Kyle Lowry's butt, but Dario Saric has a butt too. And when you're banging
You
a
got a big
guy
ass.
in
You got a big
the
ass.
post,
Yeah, just jumping back quickly to Dougie McBuckets, one of 3 players in NBA men's basketball to record 3,000 points and 1,000 rebounds. Set the NCAA record by scoring double figures in 135 games. Not bad. Not bad at all.
Bad.
Speaking of not bad and big butts, Dario Saric.
smooth.
We all love Dario, man. Dario was awesome when he was here. He's not too far out of his realm. Like, he's still got some good years in
He
front of
showed
him.
some juice in Golden State this last year too. I was surprised they gave him so much
Yeah.
run, but he was productive.
Kind of a resurgence, man, because he could have been. It would have been easy for him to be jaded and like, oh, yeah, fine, all right, no worries, and just go with the motion, roll with the punches, and please bring back thick Kyle Lowry. No, look, he's cheap. He's still productive. He's a big body, even from the waist up. So I'm. Why not? Like, there's no reason to not bring Dario back.
Well, again,
I think he'd
minimum
quite easily
contract,
slot into the rotation. Yeah, 100%. He's cheap, productive, big.
He already
And
knows
I
the
think-
the good neighborhoods to hang out in Phoenix. He wouldn't have to take
Yeah.
time acclimating into a new city.
He knows
I was listening to
Circle K to hang outside and have a smoke. break.
Exactly. No, in fairness, as we're kind of transitioning to NFL's off or ramping up for NFL season to start, I guess,
Go
kind of in late
Panthers.
August here in the States. I caught an interview recently, and they were talking about some of the players that were holding out for longer contracts, and somebody's like, oh, is it about money? And some guy made a point that he's like, well, he goes, I've been here for 8 years, and like, if you're asking me to get cut and not get paid, and then all of a sudden I have to go to a new city, a new state, and help my kids enroll in a whole new school, and I help my wife find a whole new job, and find out where I like to go for dinner and all. He goes, that's a big adjustment. He goes, it's not necessarily a bad thing. He goes, sometimes you want to get traded, sometimes you want to switch teams, but he goes, when you kind of get comfortable in a place, it's easier to remain there. And I think I've seen a lot of Suns fans. I think we even tweeted out about it. Torrey Craig, maybe bring back Torrey Craig. We know he already knows where all the good, taquerias are in Phoenix. So, a Dario Saric reunion wouldn't be the worst thing either. But as Juan Carlos says, and I agree, we do need some athleticism. And maybe that's where Kevin's getting to with Chimezie Metu. But what Kevin is not getting to in terms of athleticism is Daniel Tice, and you called him a power forward. I don't even know if he can keep up with a 4 anymore.
To my defense, okay, I read the Drew Eubanks news and kind of mixed it up a little in my mind. So I remembered, oh my goodness, we're looking for number 4s, not number 5s or backup Cs. But I think that Daniel Tice is for another conversation, certainly. So
okay, we can call him a backup.
Pass on that.
5'4". Okay, can pass. We can do that.
Pass it.
Hey, we're doing good on time. We can do an occasional pass on this show.
Okay.
But Daniel Tice, I feel like who was the center from Australia that everyone loved? First year he was
Jock Landau.
No, well the other one.
The
Baines. That's kind of what I see when I see Daniel Tice. A guy that can hold his own defensively in the paint and then just chuck threes and do like screens on the outside. I feel like that's Daniel Tice's role anymore. Aaron Baines. So who I don't. It's funny because am I forgetting something here? The Suns fans kind of were like in love with Aaron Baines, and then after he left the Suns, I think maybe he played one other place, but basically everyone just kind of found out that Aaron Baines is kind of a jerk and just not
he had
person.
a massive injury too. He slipped in the locker room or something
during the Olympics.
Yeah. So he was, and then he had COVID,
like paralyzed,
super bad, man. He said I remember a thing. He said he slept for 4 days straight.
I wish I could do that.
He's over here in the NBL at the moment. I'm pretty sure.
Okay,
pretty sure.
That's
it was a really bad.
This is why I like the chat. Look at the stats that came through. He's from New Zealand, you racist. Doesn't Aaron Baines have like 9 threes in a game? He played in Toronto, had medical issues. Didn't he almost die? Jake has no feelings. This is why I love the chat, because they keep us honest. And they also remind us about all the things that we don't know in the nicest way possible, especially Creepy Crawley. He's probably the nicest of the bunch, probably the cutest, I bet, as well, whoever he is.
He's
she
got
is.
A
you never know.
Little smile, man.
He's got a butt like Kyle Lowry. That's what I know.
Man, he's got a butt.
Because you see, when you're banging a guy down low, you want to make sure you got something to push him around with.
And
every time,
he's a cuddler as well.
Every time we mention like big butts, can we play Mix-a-Lot song?
Oh my God! I saw a request on that. Yeah, I think we're gonna have to see.
It was
what
Justin's
licensing
request.
we can get on the music.
Shout out to you, Justin.
Okay. Another guy that we'll mention here to kind of close out this topic of backup 4s would be Robert Covington, who I feel like Robert Covington was one of those guys for a long time that always seemed to go off on the Phoenix Suns. He can kind of play the 3-4. He can even play a little 5. He's a good defensive player, and he was serviceable as a decent corner shooter. From 3. I think those stats have kind of changed a little bit more recently, and he hasn't gotten as much playing time. Most recently, his time, he kind of split this last year with Philadelphia and Los Angeles Clippers. He was averaging close to 4 points a game from 3-point land when he was with the Clippers, 25%. When he was with Philly, 35%. So it's much more a defensive role at this point in his career. Similar maybe to an Alex Caruso, but obviously on the wing, right? And he's going to be a little older, but I think he would be serviceable, especially on a minimum contract. I think we could maybe try and see what we could get out of Bobby Covington moving forward. So I don't know.
It's a nice idea, man.
Yeah. See, I got some. All right. Well, should you guys want to go to the club with me real quick?
Oh yeah, I'm thirsty.
Oh, for sure.
Good. All right, let's do it. Soon as I find it, which
no surprise, the Aussie's thirsty at 3:00 in the morning.
Let's go.
What's the name of that nightclub of yours again?
You talking about the Boom Boom Room?
Yeah, the Boom Boom Room. That's it. Yeah. Yeah.
let's be honest. Anymore, it's actually just the excitement to see those dance moves.
Man.
Again, for the audio listeners, if you haven't checked out the newest Boom Boom Room that Josh was able to put together, the place is bumping. It's no longer, just a very, slow songs. We got some beats playing in the club, and we're having a good time while we're there. And so the big news, I guess, is that, and this was confirmed by Gambadoro recently, is that he does not expect Eric Gordon to return. He is a player option on his contract, and Drew Eubanks has a player option, and that was actually confirmed as well by Woj. So let's start with Drew Eubanks, guys. You guys gonna miss Drew?
What a great fucking news.
Celebration.
Wait, sorry.
Stewart. You son of a bitch.
And that was, it's funny. Maybe Stewart should have just knocked him out for the season when he sucker punched him back, back in the locker rooms when we played them way back when. But Drew Eubanks, for a moment, Suns fans seemed to be high on him. He was dunking a little bit and playing some, aggressive defense, and then just we didn't want him anymore.
He's
Became unplayable.
He's got a small butt.
Yep, there you go.
That's-
He's no
Absolutely.
good. He's trash. No, this I should have been more prepared for this, and I would have asked Josh to put up like a celebration. Yeah, no more Eubanks. Yeah, let's go. We're winning a championship this year. Let's go.
You guys aren't gonna miss Drew?
Nope.
No, I'm actually rejoicing right now.
Oh yeah. Well,
But that's,
I mean, we've already talked
Does
about
he
this,
need
right?
a hand to pack his bags? Is all I want to know, because
Right.
I can get on a flight and get over there, man.
Well, let me ask you this: were you guys as surprised as I was that he was opting out? So the player option would then also yield him a little bit more. If he goes somewhere else, he is actually going to take a slight reduction in pay. Assuming he's going to get another minimum contract somewhere, which I think he could do. He's not a bad third option at center. Our challenge was that we have Yusuf Nurkic, who, doesn't have the stamina to play much more than 30, 33 minutes a game, in the playoffs. And then you have to play Drew Eubanks, 12 to 15 minutes a game before you go to Kevin Durant at your center. So that's I think where we ran into some trouble with Drew, is we relied on him too much in that backup role. But I'll be honest, I was surprised. I didn't think that there would be a big market for Drew Eubanks. But obviously his agent must have convinced him that, hey, yeah, we're going to do better somewhere else. Or maybe they thought the Suns will just bury you on the roster and it'll be harder to get a contract next year because you'll have less production this year. What do you think?
Yeah, I think he must have had an assurance somewhere else. If
Somebody tampered? You think there was tampering? Another second round pick gone for somebody for Drew Eubanks?
well, let's not deny it. People talk even before free agency. But to turn down was that like a 2.6 million?
Something like that. Yep.
Yeah.
I'm sure
So
the chat will correct us politely if you're wrong.
But yeah, I mean, $2.6 million is for me with that kind of production. Why say no? Who are you to say no? Or not pick that up? But that's just me. I'm just basing it off eye test and some numbers. Maybe, yeah, like you pointed out, maybe he and his agent agreed that he might do better somewhere else. But that's just me. But I don't want to see his face ever again in the Suns jersey.
Well, Hunstar, who again is on Baby Watch, that's why the graphics aren't quite their fun, flashy selves, because I'm at the controls. But yeah, he says technically, and I guess it's true, he could decline his player option and then come back on a minimum contract to basically yield that little extra bump.
That was my first thought, man, because it doesn't
Really?
make sense. Well, it doesn't, like you're saying, there's not a lot of other teams aren't waking up going, all right, today we're going out and we're getting Drew Eubanks.
Right.
So
But if you're
I don't
Drew
know.
Eubanks, don't you just take the more money then? Why are you opting out to take less money to remain with Phoenix?
He must know something we don't. Maybe he's coming over here to play. He'd
Yeah.
still be a backup over here.
Yeah, no,
I think it was
I
like
agree with I agree with Voida. Drew is mid, like Boyd, wherever Boyd is, you know. But let's talk about the other guy that some of us might be actually missing a little bit, and I'm certainly going to miss getting to play
Based
this.
on a book by J.R.R. Tolkien, a new movie from Peter Jackson. Eric Gordon starring as Samwise Gamgee and Frank Vogel starring as Frodo Baggins, the Lord of the Rings.
I can't carry it for you, but I can carry you. Come on!
And that I think is our only
Vogel's
drop
face,
of Frank Vogel too. So
Vogel's
I
face
forgot
is
about
an
that part.
absolute crack up in that.
if he eventually resigns, you have to update that picture.
Oh, right. Yeah, exactly. If he does, the rumor mill is that he won't, which again is
Yeah.
a little bit of a surprise. But you know, I think he sounded pretty frustrated with his time with the Suns last year. I think a lot of us liked him as a starter when he was starting, and hated him coming off the bench, which is where he has to be because our starters are better than Eric Gordon is.
Yeah, we pointed that out, in the previous spots where, he's really productive when he's starting. He's like averaging like 15, 14 points when starting, but his production off the bench, you really don't know what you're gonna get every night. You're gonna get like either you're gonna get the cold Gordon who can't shoot threes and just throwing his body around,
Yes,
trying
thank you.
to
Can we
bait
talk about
bait
how it
foul.
used to terrify me that he would go and try and draw a foul? And
Yeah.
he's 6 foot flat. Like he got his shot blocked a lot, and he would get roughed up in the post. And I thought he was fouled. They weren't giving him a lot of fouls, and he would then just turn and do this. And he's already not a great defender, so he would take his time running back to get back on D. Like I feel I would love to look at like a stat that would take a look at his defensive numbers if he took the ball into the post, because my guess is if he took it down there and tried to draw a foul and get a shot off, we were probably scored on the next possession because he wasn't back on defense, or if he was quickly blown past. Like other teams, would hunt him immediately trying to run, or because he wasn't get back in time.
I'm not sure if there's like a pivot where you can like pull up a stat like that, but that'll be interesting, really. But yeah, I can see why he's not resigning, because obviously he had some rough stretches with the Suns, and we criticize him a lot, but he deserves to be criticized because of the production. We expected a lot from him. He was basically the biggest signing that we had last off season to help that bench, and we ended up really, really disappointed. But when he started, yeah, he's good, but we just didn't know what type of player we're gonna have every night when he's coming off the bench. The inconsistencies at the top.
Well, as Darth Voida, managing editor of Sun's Bright Side of the Sun, and the host of Sun's Jam with Matthew Lissy, points out Eric Gordon shot 32.6% from deep when coming off the bench, which we all remember with horrifying vividness. Who else shot that percentage this season? Javon Carter, Scoot Henderson, I forget, Kerry Levert, yeah, Jordan Poole. Jordan Poole.
Cares.
Is it Karras? Okay.
Karras.
Levert, yeah. I always just call him Levert. But Jordan Poole, man. How bad did Jordan Poole fall after he got that huge contract, got to go over to the Wizards? And
It's after Draymond punched him in the face.
oh, God, he's never been the same. Like, the Wizards don't even start him. Like, he's making all that money. He's going to easily go down as, like, the worst contract right now in the current NBA, I bet. But
they were supposed to
also
be
right there,
ooh,
where he's talking about
did we just get confirmation on this? Did Damian Lee opt in? That's not a
read
surprise.
something like that. No,
I
And he's
read
a
something
much
like that
better
earlier.
person-
Okay.
Much better person to have around than Eric Gordon.
Well, and he unfortunately, I mean, I kind of felt bad for the Suns media who got to keep asking Coach constantly, "Hey, we see Damian Lee's on the practice court. Yeah, he's still working his way back in." It's like, okay, how long is this going to take for Damian Lee? And granted, like, I didn't expect him to start playing in the playoffs or anything like that, but Damian Lee's a vet. He's won a title with the Wizards. He's a good 3-point shooter, decent little
With the
defender.
Wizards.
Warriors.
Warriors, sorry. Yeah. Good correction.
Yes,
and
I know I had a long sleep, but I didn't realize the Wizard won the championship yet.
oh, okay. They have the Bullets.
The Bullets, yeah.
That's why they need to change their name back. But no, I'd rather keep Damian Lee than Eric Gordon. Well, I don't know. Again, if Eric Gordon's on that minimum contract, like, it's not a bad deal. So his people must think he can easily get more. I think he's probably going to be looking at maybe a mid-level exception somewhere. There's teams like an Orlando Magic that have cap space, have a lot of young players that might want a vet to come in and be that sixth man type role, and Eric Gordon might have a lot more fun, going to Disney World than sitting here,
Detroit, man.
Kind of becoming more of a seventh, eighth man in the rotation.
I thought you were gonna say have fun with the kids, but yeah.
No, he's not Josh Giddey. That's going to happen in Chicago. Stay away from Chicago, kids. He's going to change his name to Josh Giddey. You're welcome.
I thought I was the controversial one, man.
Hey, Mo, I apologize if I didn't ask you, but so are you going to miss Mr. Gordon?
Not particularly. Look, he was fun. When he was on, he was great, but there was too much time when he wasn't on. Yeah, when his production was not what it should have been, especially later in this last season. His time's done. No hard feelings. See you later.
It's funny. I think back to all the free agents that joined the Suns last year on these, 2-year contracts with the player option in the second. And I think, man, how many of these did we miss on? You think like Josh Okogie came back, Eric Gordon, Yuta Watanabe. I was high on him for sure. Drew Eubanks. Chimezi Metu, there's a lot, and they either got shipped out or, most of them aren't going to be returning. And I think Damian Lee, the only reason he's returning is because his knee shot out from under him and never got to even play last year. So we don't know how he's going to play. So might as well just take that little extra boost in salary and stick around in Phoenix and continue to work with some guys you haven't even gotten to play a game with yet. But we were so excited, and it goes to show the national media was as well, because I remember we had all that depth all of a sudden. The Phoenix Suns went and got a ton of great depth that we
lacked depth. We lacked depth. Yeah,
it didn't work out for us. But
did you mention KDB?
Oh, KDB Diop, that's right. Yeah. We thought, he was a Spurs guy, a pop guy. Yeah, he was going to totally help us out, and he could not shoot. He couldn't hit water if he fell out of a boat. That guy was just like. I remember like listening to Matthew Lissy on like post games on Suns Jam, and he'd be like, he looks scared. Like he just looks like he doesn't know if he wants to shoot. And it's like, yeah, he did. He looked like a 10-year-old out there on the basketball court when he had an open shot. And he's like, I shouldn't do this. I shouldn't even be here.
We had a lot of high hopes for a few people like that this season, and I think it was mainly because these weren't the big names like your Kevin Durant and stuff that we'd acquired recently, your Bradley Beals and so forth. But these were smaller role players that we thought had a lot of upside potential.
Yeah.
And they just fell flat, man. Like Utah, his story is
and
so
just so
sad.
many of them.
He's not even in the NBA now, man. And he was killing it 2 seasons ago,
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, so it'll be interesting. And to kind of close out our segment, this week, we're going to talk about the biggest Suns draft steals. We talked about the biggest bust last week, and of course, the actual NBA draft is next week. And so let's go ahead and move into the biggest draft steals ever. And I'm going to kick it off because he was most recently, and if you haven't seen this, go back and watch it. But Cedric Ceballos was on Suns Jam. Oh my gosh, that was
what an
amazing!
episode that was.
It was really there's like
that was
Pat
so
Burke
good
on our show, and then Cedric on Suns Jam, is pretty close. But no, the Cedric Ceballos interview that John had with that was fantastic.
It was
Minus that
amazing.
we've got to find a way to buy Cedric Ceballos a new camera. Because it was pretty grainy. He was definitely working with some old tech from his house. But I'll just start there. Cedric Ceballos was taken in the second round as the 48th pick by the Phoenix Suns. And, obviously he had a fantastic career with the Suns. He was part of the team that went to the finals to take on the Chicago Bulls. He didn't get much, he didn't play there because of the injury. He had a long career that reached quite a long time. He was a slam dunk champion, and he made the All-Star team once as well. Career averages of over 14 points a game, over 5 rebounds, and 1.2 assists. When you're getting that kind of a player in the second round, and he's part of a team that helps you make the NBA Finals, Cedric Ceballos, definitely one of the best draft steals ever by the Phoenix
Hell
Suns.
yes.
Hell
yes.
And so remember I forgot the important thing for the rules that we have is they have to be drafted by the Suns and play for the Suns. So you can't have like Luol Deng, who's drafted by the Suns but never played, and then say, oh, what a steal he was. And you can't have kind of somebody that was, or like a Marquise Chris who was drafted and his rights were traded over to us. So Kevin, tell us about your first guy. I think some of the Suns fans might have heard of him. He's from Canada.
Oh yeah, he's from Canada. He's that and then he went to the Lakers. Left us in the dark suddenly.
Tell the folks about Steve Nash here, Kev.
Steve Nash, 1996, 15th pick overall by the Suns. Two-time MVP, and is he the? I didn't look this up, but is he the leading assist man for the Suns history? In Suns
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't know if he is. Would it be Kevin Johnson? Let me take a look. You go ahead. Tell us more about Steve.
No. But anyway, let me just read the career averages over here.
He is the leading assist man. You're right. He beat out Kevin Johnson by over 400 assists.
Awesome.
Kevin averaged more per game, though.
Got it.
Go to bed, boy.
Yeah, 10 seasons with the Suns. I think first 2, and then trade. Was he traded, or did he sign with the Mavericks as a free agent? I'm not sure, but overall, it's like 10 seasons with the Suns. Averages 16.9 points, 3.6. What's this? Sorry, 16.9 points, 11 assists a game as a Phoenix Sun. So just one of the, some would say, one of the greatest Suns player in history.
He's in my Mount Rushmore of Suns players for sure.
Right.
Yeah. You don't get 2 MVPs and make the Western Conference Finals, multiple times, and not get to be considered one of the best, at least in Phoenix lore. If that was an LA Lakers stat, it'd probably be like, how many titles did you win? 0? Yep, you're not in our top 4.
You're not. That's their basis. You're right. But yeah, overall, what a career, really. Steve Nash, one of my favorite players, really. Personally, he's he's the main reason why I started watching the NBA and the Suns. Really, I was just switching the buttons in the remote, and I saw this guy with the long hair and playing great basketball, great passing.
Just admit it, Kevin. You started slicking your hair back after that when you were running up and down the court.
I would if I had my long hair, or hair long like his. But 2-time MVP as well as a Sun. So definitely a big. Or I think he's the greatest steal, don't you think? Out of these players that we've listed.
Ooh, I can't say that, if only because he was taken as the 15th pick, so I guess he still would have been a lottery pick. And so I think the debate could be had, and we won't drag it out too much on this episode because we're starting to wrap. But 15th pick. I mean, when you're talking about Cedric Ceballos being taken in the 48th pick, for example, in the second round, you could say, well, where's more? You're getting an all-star in the second round when most of those guys don't even make teams, But you're right. Steve Nash should have been, higher up in that draft for sure. But there were some great players to come out of that draft as well.
Yeah, that draft
and certainly
was,
one of the
loaded.
greatest Phoenix Suns of all time, as was stated. Yeah,
Of course. Yep.
All right. Well, and somebody else that might have a little bit of a comparison on best steal. Ham was going to talk a little bit about him. He was the 46th pick in the second round, and also one of the worst Phoenix Suns coaches of all time. Amo, tell us about Jeff Hornacek.
He's one of the names that's always been synonymous with the Suns. You think about the big name players over, or maybe not big name players, but the notable names over the years. Your Paul Westfalls, your Danny Ainges, your Cedric Ceballos, Charles Barkley, so forth. How did you pronounce his name?
Hornacek.
Hornacek. I've always heard it as Hornacek.
Is it Hornacek? I thought it was Czech.
I thought so too, Hornacek.
Ooh.
Who knows?
I just call him Horny.
We don't speak good down here. We don't have perfect English.
Okay.
But 6 seasons with the Phoenix Suns, man, definitely the production for his level in the draft was incredible. Over a career average of 14.5 points, 5 assists, shooting 53%, 87% free throw shooter as well. He was definitely, in terms of where we got him in the draft and where he was in terms of other people and what he did for the Suns, I think it's a damn good steal, man.
Mm-hmm. Kevin, any rebuttal on that?
No. I agree.
You like some Jeff Horny until we get the correct pronunciation.
No.
Oh, it is correct.
It is Sec.
Okay, says Justin. Yeah. Okay. Sec. Got it. Well, there you go. Jeff Hornacek. There you go. All right. Kevin, you got somebody else you want to talk about. And again, somebody else that helped take us to the NBA Finals, teamed up with Charles Barkley, should have been a Phoenix Suns coach, was an assistant coach for a long time, and a lottery pick, but also one of our best perimeter defenders and, known as Thunder Dan. Tell us about Dan Marley.
Brilliant restaurant that me and Kevin need to go to.
Brilliant. They have beer and sandwiches.
And
I like it.
Yeah. Thunder Dan, 1988, 14th pick over his career, 14.6 points.
Greatest defender on Michael Jordan ever.
And 5 rebounds. Well, I haven't seen that final, so I don't know. And then for a 3-time NBA All-Star and a 2-time All-NBA Defensive Team. So I think that's where the defense is coming from. So just one of the best players to ever played in the Suns jersey. Certainly a steal in the draft. That's so cool, though. It's like 14th pick in 1988, and then like 8 years later, you have Steve Nash.
Mm-hmm.
Right around the same. Yeah.
Right.
All the good ones go around that. Booker was what?
13
13?
is Booker.
13.
Yep.
Kobe was 13th.
13th. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So the last one for me is a little bit of a sneak attack here, but I'm going to go with Marcin. I'm pretty sure I'm saying that right. Marcin Gortat, the Polish Hammer, who the Phoenix Suns drafted and then immediately traded his rights to the Orlando Magic. But he would make his way back to the Valley later on in his career. He was taken in the second round as the 57th pick. But Marcin Gortat, for a while was really kind of our go-to offensive threat in the paint. Marcin Gortat had a heck of a run, playing from 2007 through 2019, and Yeah. What more can you say about the Polish Hammer? He was a little bit more limited, but he kind of, for a brief time, it felt like helped us forget Amari Stoudemire, or at least helped us remember that you can have people in the paint that can actually dunk the ball and rebound it on occasion, because the Hakeem Warwick, Josh Childress, Guido Turkoglu experiences did not work too well, but Marcin Gortat, yes, was
Do you
pretty
know
great
why
for
he
us
was so great?
because he's from Poland. No.
Well, other than that,
Oh, okay.
he's playing with Steve Nash and Gordon Dragic.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
that's
correctly.
and as you
Yeah.
think
Pick
about
and
that,
roll.
Marcin made Steve Nash better, and that's the big thing, because
95%
when
of the
Marcin
points
Gortat came
voted
to
for
play in
Steve
Phoenix,
Nash because of Marcin Gortat.
God,
it
Steve
well,
Nash made who's that? Miles Plumlee look
Miles
great.
Plum Dog,
Was it
Plum
Miles
dog.
Plumlee?
yeah, not Mason, because Mason's still in the league.
The dunker. Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
Miles,
Look,
we didn't think we always take the lesser of two brothers. Taylor Griffin,
Martian
Miles
was always
Plumlee,
good,
Robin
man.
Lopez. Yeah.
He was a good character as well, man. I remember watching interviews. He always used to have funny interviews with Shaq. Um, you know,
Are we talking
around.
Marcin Gortat still?
Yeah.
Okay.
He always had funny interviews with Shaq, man. He was a personable guy. He was fun. He seemed like he was a exuberant kind of person to have on the team, man. Always liked him. Even when he went over to Washington afterwards, he was still putting out some good basketball, man. For a white boy, not bad
Mhm.
at all.
Yeah,
For a
he actually he didn't win it, but he did get some votes for most improved player his second year in Phoenix, which was 2011 2012, where he was playing 32 minutes a game,
The
and
glory
yeah,
years.
just some of his quick numbers, over 15 points a game, and over 11 rebounds a game. So he was certainly no, excuse me, not 11 rebounds, 10 rebounds a game. That's right. And 1.5 blocks. So, honestly, the Phoenix Suns have never had a tremendously good centers. I feel like Marcin Gortat might actually have an argument to be considered as one of the better centers that the Phoenix Suns have ever had.
Yep.
That's probably one of the reasons why DeAndre Ayton will also remain up there as like one of the top centers that we've ever had. We've had some very good power forwards that are kind of forced to play center positions a lot. But the quote unquote true centers, Marcin you might have an argument for him to be kind of in that top 10 at least.
Didn't the Suns at some point laid out a lineup of Steve Nash, Raja Bell, Boris Diaw, and then at the 4 was Sean Marion, and then at the 5 is Stoudemire? Didn't they?
Yeah, well, for a while they were actually having Dia play center.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, they would have. Well, it was
notice that.
Dia and Amari were basically 4-5, but I mean, it was. I think Dia was a little bit better on ball defender, and they wanted Amari to kind of come over for blocks, but and then Marion at the 3. So we kind of ran like a 3 power forward lineup in those days too, and Bell obviously could hold his own on the perimeter as well. So no, we were undersized, but could you imagine that team in the modern NBA? I feel like that would be a modern NBA team of those 5 guys playing
that
together.
would run teams over, definitely. Yeah. And then all of a sudden we traded for Shaq, Sean Marion.
Yeah.
Big Shaq.
Yeah.
But yeah, you guys asked the question, and maybe we should try and answer it real quick, because somebody that we did not mention in our top 5 biggest steals was Devin Armani Booker, who was taken in the 2015 draft at the 13th pick. So you could make a little argument, 13th, that's not too bad. But let's be honest, most people when they're looking at the NBA draft, if you're not a top 10 and really a top 5 pick, there's a lot of risk a lot of risk. There's a lot of chance that you're not going to be in the league very long. I forgot where I read it, but they actually did a percent like still in the league after 5 years or 6 years or something based on the position you were drafted in the first 2 rounds. And it just like after 10 picks, it just massively falls off that your career is not in the NBA. Kind of like running backs when they hit their 30s. They're just like not in the league anymore. So if you're taken, as the 27th pick in the first round, if you can get another contract after your rookie contract, you should be looked at as doing pretty darn well for yourself. And that's the NBA. I mean, they take the best players and they only want to keep the best players. You can only survive on your potential for so long. And, that's why so many of these players, and I always think of some of the biggest busts ever too, like the Darko Milicics, the Hashim Tabits, out there, the Anthony Bennett, the number 1 overall pick. They got their rookie contract, and then maybe a team or two gave them one more look, and then now they're playing somewhere else in the world. But that's it. So who? Yeah, we talked about some of the biggest steals ever. Who is your personal biggest steal for the Phoenix Suns?
You go first, Samo.
I was very unprepared for this. It's going to have to be Steve Nash.
Gonna have to be Steve Nash. Okay.
Going to have to be Steve Nash, man.
Okay. So I think if you're going with Nash, I'm gonna go with personally. I think would be Book for me, because Book reached the finals.
And see, I was just gonna say, 2 MVPs with one, and Booker has made a few All-Star games. That's about it. But you're right, Booker was the best player on that team, getting us to the NBA Finals. As I mentioned, you could make the argument that if you can get a star or a all-star in the second round, that should be considered the bigger steal. But I'm going to side with Hamo on this. I think Steve Nash. I mean, just because of what he means, to all three of us, right? Like, I think the three of us, we really came into our Suns fandom because of Steve Nash.
Yes, Steve Nash.
So, no, I'm going to have to go with him for now. But no, fair point on Devin Booker actually getting us to the finals.
It was a very close call between Book and Nash.
Yeah. I don't think either one could go wrong. But okay, well, I guess so. I'll let folks know we're going to put a little poll on Twitter. But I'm going to ask you guys first another question here as we close out. But the NBA draft is next week. There's going to be some Suns podcast doing a live watching of that. And so it'll be interesting. We'll be on Saturday to kind of recap it all with the Suns Planeteers. But the question is, do you want the Suns to even draft a player, or do you want them to trade it and try and acquire somebody that will help them win right away? And actually, now that I think about it, we already did put this poll out. It's still running, so go check it out on Twitter. But Kev, what do you want? You want a young player to develop, or hey, package it and send it out?
Considering what's out there, I'd like for them to draft someone,
and
then try
even though it's a weak draft.
I mean, it is. They say it's a weak draft, but I'm seeing a lot of prospects that could really be at the least prominent role players in the league. I believe John did write about Kolek, which is I told you guys about. My coworker said, "Hey, you know about this Kolek guy? He's a pretty good point guard, 7.7 assists in his college career." So and then when I saw the highlights and said, "Hey, maybe this could translate into the NBA," sort of like the next.
Now everyone's talking Kolek, yeah.
And then of course my guy Yves Missy, I think it had been mentioned in a couple of articles that I've seen. Sorry for the wrong grammar. That I've seen over the past week. They had Missy as well on their draft board. So I think the Suns should draft someone, try and potentially develop it to someone that's going to help the team.
Okay. Hamo, what do you think?
I think that's the smartest option at the moment. Personally, I don't think our team is in a position where we have the amount of time to develop young talent. I think it's a now or never kind of thing with our aging superstar, not stars. But yeah, I think the long term, definitely we go after someone like Kolek, someone that's going to take us for the next few years. So, yeah, we got to be smart with this one. We have to be. We don't have a bloody choice. We've got nothing else to do.
Well, then it's unanimous. So I'd actually support drafting a player as well. Another big reason that you guys didn't quite mention is to get somebody under contract for more than just a minimum 1-year deal, which is all we're going to be able to do with free agency. Obviously, if we traded for somebody, we're going to have to take on that contract as well. But this would be a contract that we can then control. And the experts are saying that it's weak at the top, but as we've already kind of covered with some of the prospects, I mean, the fact of the matter is that Zach Edey is considered gettable at that draft position at 22, which seems shocking to me that the best college player could sit there at number 22. Now, I'm not saying it has to be him. You guys talked about a few other players with Kolek and Missy, but the kid from Duke that we talked about, I always call him Filipowski, something like that. Yeah. And hey, I'm still up on Armando Bacot, but he's apparently considered a second rounder at this point. So I'm guessing maybe we bring him on for the G League team. But there's quality role players that I think can come in, and we don't have to do more than give them 12 to 15 minutes a game in the regular season and allow them to kind of comfortably develop, because I think the Big Three experiment is going to be decided this season. If we fail to progress and compete, and by that I mean we'd have to at least make the Western Conference Finals, I think, to consider progress. I just don't think that you just continue to try and say, okay, let's just keep trying to make the Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant, Devin Booker experience happen. I think that's why it's going to be important to kind of backfill, and you have these players like a Zach Edey who are seniors who can contribute in limited amounts, that I think you don't have to build the team around them, but next year they're still going to be there on your team and ready to produce in some way for you as a 6th, 7th, 8th man. And then that way we don't have to play the lottery game of bringing in, another KBD, Yuta Watanabe, Chimezie Metu, and be like, look how many random guys we think are ready to play critical roles. Hopefully we can kind of develop somebody into the system. That's what I'm looking for. I want to see a power forward or a center come out of this draft a little bit more than a point guard. But yeah, everyone's big on this Kolek kid all of a sudden. And there's somebody else, and I forget who it was. I don't think it's Kolek, but that was projected to be like a top 3, top 5 pick, and he just got injured and might have to miss significant time. I forget the kid's name, but maybe that's
not coming to mind.
Yeah. I don't know all the players in this draft, because as I keep saying, it's a weak draft. So that's why you continue to hear random players get brought up and you're like, I don't even know who that is. And it's like, oh, that's because you don't watch Senegalese ball, or, you don't watch like who the top kid is coming out of Australia right now, who played with Wemby, right? The French kid. Is that right?
Oh, I thought you told me.
Yeah, like the projected there. So I mean, the game has become even more international. So to pay attention to all the leagues is a challenge, and I think that's why you're going to see some very dominant seniors from college ball be there, available, and can be productive at that spot. So that's what I'd like to see. And Hamo, tell the folks where they can find you if they want to learn more.
Yeah, guys, this has been fun, like it always has. You can follow me at Sir Hamo on Twitter. Yeah, follow the pod at Suns Planet Pod. Give us a like, subscribe, guys. Help us get out there and give you guys the best possible takes that, when it comes to our Phoenix Suns. Jump online. I love chat with Suns fans, guys. And, hand it over to my brother, Kevin.
Yeah, so like Hamo said, I want to thank first the people in the chat. Thank you guys for your support, and every day, or not every day, but every time we pod, you guys are there. So thank you for that.
Every day, you're right next to
every day.
I feel you.
Not every day, but yeah, thank you guys for being so active in the chat. It makes us really happy. And you can find me at I'm Kevin PS. No sluts anymore at I'm Kevin PS. And please keep supporting us. And you can also find the write up of this podcast on Bright Side of the Sun. Thank you to John of course, for that opportunity once again, even though I haven't written in like a few weeks now. But you'll find certainly a lot
got
of
an article in the
Ammo's
hopper, right?
articles over there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you guys again. See you next time.
Yeah, we're going to be obviously, like I said, talking about the draft a little bit and then some more free agent stuff next week. And hopefully, Josh is able to be back. Hopefully, he's got baby number 2 out. And well, actually, at that point, he might not be back. He might be very busy. But
Might have something
we
else to
really
take
want to
care of.
see that Kevin shoe deal, those new shoes that you got, Kev. And so we're hoping that when Josh is able to get back, you guys can work together with the shoe company to get that put up there. I'm going to speak it into existence, and we're going to make that happen. But you can follow me at Fallen Founder. Hey, we had 226 viewers, 185 following the Twitter account on Suns Planet Pod. Guys, if you could just take that one quick thing, drop that like, throw out a retweet. Really does help us. We're one of the new boys on the block. We really do appreciate all the support. I'll say a good night to let's do a good night to Creepy Crawley, because it looked like he went to sleep in the chat to go sober up. So wherever Boyd is, I hope you're sleeping well, buddy. And Al McCoy, take us home.
Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, stay with us as the Suns get set to shine here on their home court.
Here's Perry. Cigar Hurd. Here's the jump shot. Good! It's good!
Al McCoy with you courtside. Pumped up a 3.
Shazam! He ties it. ADA. Al and Tim up here.
happy birthday!
Right. Yeah.
I know it's the ball, but happy birthday, baby!
Here's Cameron Payne out on top. Durant, 3-pointer straight away.
Shazam! I just want to take this opportunity to thank everyone in this arena this afternoon, to all of those that are watching and listening on radio and TV. Thank you for allowing me to tell the story of the Suns for 51 great years.
That pretty much wraps things up here. And for one last time, this is Al McCoy saying thanks for being there. Thanks for being with us tonight. And from the Footprint Center here in downtown Phoenix, we'll just say so long for now.